everyone, it's Jordan from AutoAid. Today we're going to be looking at a 2008 Cadillac CTS with a lack of power at wide open throttle. According to the customer, this vehicle loses power when accelerating at wide open throttle, usually around 5,000 RPM. Apparently the vehicle drives fine under all other conditions and no previous work has been done to this vehicle. Now I did road test the vehicle and I did notice that at around 5,000 RPM, the vehicle does lose power. It honestly feels like it's like the throttle's being cut out on this thing. It doesn't run bad or anything. It just, as soon as you hit 5,000 RPM, it feels like the throttle cuts right back on this vehicle. So first, I think what we're going to have to do is scan the vehicle for codes and see what we got going on. Now, after scanning the vehicle, all we had was a C0035 left front wheel speed sensor circuit. And you're probably wondering, what does a wheel speed sensor have to do with loss of power? I will explain my thinking behind this later on in this video. But for now, we're just going to have to look up exactly what this code means. And after looking it up, we noticed we have a symptom code 0F, which is left front wheel speed sensor erratic. Now this could be set due to physical damage to the tone wheel itself or the air gap between the wheel speed sensor and the encoder ring. We live up in the rust belt here, so there is a good chance that rust got built up and is pushing the sensor away from the tone wheel. But we'll have to see a little bit later on. I'm going to assume here that the wiring is okay because it's an erratic signal code, not like an open circuit or circuit code. So it's getting the signal. It's just it doesn't recognize what it's looking at. So we cleared the code and checked wheel speed data during the road test. And this next screen capture was taken at wide open throttle near the end of first gear when the vehicle lost power. So as we were driving, the left front wheel speed sensor was kind of jumping all over the place. Right here you can see it's reading 0, and there it was reading 10, while the other ones were reading about 40. I tried getting a couple screen captures, but while I was driving, it was kind of difficult to do. So it was jumping all over the place between 0 and 10, 0 and 20 kilometers an hour. So definitely an erratic signal. It doesn't recognize it and doesn't know what speed to display. So what we know is the left front wheel speed sensor is reading erratic during the loss of power. What we need to figure out is, can a wheel speed sensor cause a loss of power? In some cases, yes, it can. I've actually seen a wheel speed sensor where if it thinks the vehicle's losing traction or a wheel is locking up, it'll actually cut power to the vehicle in rare cases. So the vehicle may think that one wheel is locking up or spinning. In our case, it's locking up, or the vehicle may think it's locking up as it's reading 0. The ABS/traction control system has the ability to control the electronic throttle, and under certain conditions, the ABS system can ask the PCM or ECM to close or limit throttle. So just to kind of cover our butts here, we're going to have to diagnose this wheel speed sensor before we move on. We just don't want to waste any other time with other stuff. We know this is an issue and we should get this sorted out first. So we know the code setting is for an erratic signal. Code can set due to debris stuck in the sensor, tone wheel, damaged tone wheel, loose bearing, etc. Kind of like what I explained a couple slides ago. It's likely a broken tone wheel, but will have to be inspected. So after we inspected the tone wheel, you can see there's a big chunk missing out of it. That kind of explains, well, it looks like you can see there's a crack here, and there's a big chunk missing there. I think there were a couple other cracks in other places, but it's kind of, didn't focus very well there, but that's definitely an issue. So we're gonna have to get that fixed before we go any further with this vehicle. So as I just said, tone wheel's damaged and will have to be replaced before continuing. All right, now after replacing the wheel speed sensor, the vehicle continued with the same loss of power symptoms. So we now know that the ABS system is not telling the ECM to limit power or anything like that, so we can move on and continue diagnosing this vehicle. So now we're going to move on to engine data, and we're going to look at fuel trims and mass airflow data during this loss of power. One thing I noticed here, fuel trims, now this screenshot is when we were, when it was losing power. The fuel trims look okay there, but one thing that I did notice is at about 4,500 RPM, the mass airflow sensor reading looks a little bit low to me. Just in my experience with these vehicles, it should be a little bit higher at that RPM. So I think what we're going to do is do a volumetric efficiency test on this vehicle, just to make sure that we don't have a plugged up system, plugged intake or exhaust or anything like that. So just go take a look back here. We have our temperatures, our speed, and our mass airflow readings, and we know that this vehicle is a 3.6 liter. So I'm going to go and enter that data here. Now I was reading, we're up in Canada, so it's reading in Celsius, so I'm going to have to kind of convert it to Fahrenheit here. But as you can see, our volumetric efficiency is 47%, which is way, way, way low. So there's something going on with that. So as I just said, volumetric efficiency is very low. This vehicle definitely has a restriction somewhere, either in the intake or the exhaust. Now in this vehicle, the easiest place to start is with the intake. So I'm just going to remove this air filter and dry the vehicle and see if that helps at all. And if it doesn't help, then we're going to have to move on to a plugged exhaust or something like that. Here's another wide open throttle acceleration with the vehicle's filter removed. Now, if you notice here, the RPMs aren't as high as before. We're at 3,600 RPM. You can already see that the mass airflow readings are much, much better here. So let's just plunk that into the volumetric efficiency calculator. And I've included the website here so you can use it if you want. It's a pretty good tool. It's nice and easy to use. So I'm just going to plunk the information in here. And you can see that with that air filter removed, volumetric efficiency improved by a massive amount. We're reading 91% volumetric efficiency now. So as I just mentioned with the previous slide, with the filter removed, the volumetric efficiency greatly improved. The vehicle no longer had the lack of power, wide open throttle. In the next screenshot, you'll be able to see that the air filter was very badly plugged on this vehicle. You can see it hasn't obviously been changed in a while, and the pleats are starting to get bent here, starting to suck it in. Actually, it's that badly plugged. So they put a new filter in the vehicle, and that cured all of the lack of power issues.